I don't know if you've seen a large swarm of birds like this. Starlings are famous for doing this, uh, flying like almost as if they're one giant organism. They stick together so well, and they turn in different directions, and all of the birds turn together so that they're just kind of flowing around in the air all together, and it's pretty fascinating. It's pretty amazing. I don't know how they do it. Um, but to me, that's a great metaphor for statistics or statistical analysis. And um, one of the main purposes of statistical analysis is to make sense of large sets of data, or to see the patterns um, of a bunch of different numbers together. So kind of like all these birds, it's hard to keep track of one little bird in this whole swarm, but the whole swarm together takes a certain shape. They all stick together. They take a certain form. So when we do statistics, it's kind of like taking a bunch of numbers or a bunch of birds and seeing the big picture, seeing the form or pattern that they take. And one approach that we use in statistics is to measure the central tendency of numbers, which means to look at kind of what values numbers are kind of in a sense huddling around. Like maybe if I were to visualize the concept of central tendency, I would see what is this kind of shape that these birds are clustering around? And one of the main measures of central tendency, or tendency to kind of gravitate towards a center, um, is the mean of a set of data. MEAN, mean. Short for arithmetic mean. Usually, it's what we're talking about when we talk about mean, the arithmetic mean. And usually, actually, when we say the word average, that's what we're talking about. Like, what's the average score on the latest math test? That's actually what that is the arithmetic mean of all the scores. And taking the mean of a set of data can be really useful for just getting a big picture of what these numbers mean. Pun intended, I guess. Did I intend that? No, that was pun unintended, but I'll accept it. What the mean tells us what the numbers mean. Okay, so for example, um, say like I don't know. This is just a weird example. Say I went to a concert last night, and then I'm kind of talking about it a little bit, and you asked me, "Oh, that sounds fun. What kind of people were there? Was it cool people? Were they interesting? Did you meet anyone that was fun to talk to?" And instead of answering your question directly, I tell you, well, actually, I recorded the age of everyone that was there, and here's a list of everyone's age. So you draw conclusions, and I give you this big list here of all these different ages. And you kind of look at some of these ages, 51, 20, and you say, Graham, that doesn't really help me. What do you mean? Does this really shed any light on what kind of people were there? Well, I could take the mean of that set of data, the average, and the mean would actually be of this set of data is 66.14 years. So on average, people there were 66 years old. So that gives you a sense of what kind of people were there. So the concert was, probably not anything that was too wild and crazy. It's probably, I don't know, maybe it was even just a symphony, maybe a little Beethoven or something. So that gives you this kind of snapshot picture of the data, or this kind of overall shape of the data, um, kind of takes all these numbers and gives you kind of an easy perspective. What does this actually mean? Um, so it distills it down into one number, 66.14. So you don't have to look at this and get all boggled. Just like with this swarm of starlings, it's hard to look at each individual bird and draw any conclusions. You see the general shape, how they swirl around in the sky like that. Well, the mean gives you kind of a snapshot, or the big picture. The average of the numbers tells you kind of the basic characteristic of all the numbers. So I know the people there were roughly, on average, about 66 years old. So it's kind of an older crowd. So might be something you're into, or maybe not. So that's the arithmetic mean. And then we'll get into you can look at other lessons about how to actually calculate the mean. But that's what the mean means.